What if I told you that one of the greatest Bond films ever made almost never happened because of a series of disasters that left people injured, traumatized, and one legendary actor taking his own life? From Russia with Love isn't just Sean Connery's favorite 007 adventure. It's a film built on secrets, scandals, and shocking behind-the-scenes drama that makes the movie's plot look tame by comparison. If you're ready to dive deep into the dark side of Bond history, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to discover will change how you watch this classic forever. Number 20. A helicopter crash almost ended everything. Director Terence Young literally almost died making this film. While scouting locations for the boat chase sequence, Young's helicopter plummeted into 40 to 50 feet of water off the Scottish coast. The director and 2 crew members were trapped in an air pocket underwater for several terrifying hours before rescue teams could reach them. But here's the insane part. Young was back behind the camera just 30 minutes after being pulled from the wreckage, soaking wet and determined to finish the film. The man was either incredibly brave or completely reckless. Young's near-death experience was just the beginning of what would become one of the most dangerous Bond productions ever filmed. But the director wasn't the only one whose life was hanging by a thread during this cursed production. Number 19. Sean Connery nearly got taken out by an amateur pilot. Connery performed many of his own stunts, but one helicopter scene nearly cost him his life. An inexperienced pilot flew dangerously close to the Scottish actor, putting Bond himself at serious risk. The helicopter came so close that crew members thought they were about to witness Sean Connery's final performance, not as James Bond but as himself. It's a miracle we got to see Connery in 4 more Bond films after this near catastrophe. The aerial disasters plaguing the production seemed to be just the tip of the iceberg. When filming moved to water sequences, things somehow managed to get even more dangerous and out of control. Number 18. The explosive boat chase that went horribly wrong. The boat chase finale wasn't even in Fleming's original novel, but producers added it for more action. Big mistake. When they filmed the explosive ending where Spectre boats get blown up, everything went sideways. The explosions got completely out of control, sending 3 stuntmen to the hospital with serious injuries. Actor Walter Gotell, who played a villain, suffered burns to his eyelids that required medical treatment. The pursuit of spectacular action nearly turned deadly. While the men were battling explosions and burns on the water, the film's leading lady was fighting her own battle with disaster behind the scenes. Number 17. Daniela Bianchi's car crash cover-up. Actress Daniela Bianchi, who played the stunning Tatiana Romanova, had her own accident during production. She was injured in a car crash while traveling to the set, leaving her bruised and battered. But the show had to go on. Makeup artists worked overtime to hide her injuries so filming could continue. Every romantic scene you see between her and Connery was shot while she was dealing with hidden pain from the crash. The accidents and injuries were taking their toll, but the production faced even more bizarre challenges that would require the crew to literally break the law in another country. Number 16. The rat scene that required international crime. Those terrifying sewer rats chasing Bond, Tatiana, and Karen Bay weren't just movie magic, they were actual wild rats. But here's where it gets interesting. It was illegal to use wild rats in British film productions, so Terence Young had to lead a secret crew to Madrid, Spain, where they captured 200 wild rats with local rat catchers. The initial plan, using lab rats coated in cocoa powder, failed because the rats preferred licking themselves clean rather than chasing the actors. The lengths they went to for authenticity were nothing compared to the heartbreaking reality of what one beloved cast member was secretly enduring throughout the entire production. Number 15. A dying man's final performance. Pedro Armendáriz, who played the beloved Karen Bay, was battling terminal cancer throughout the entire production. Determined to leave his family financially secure, he pushed through excruciating pain to complete his scenes. Producers raced against time, shooting all his scenes in just 2 weeks. In several moments, body doubles had to replace him as his health deteriorated rapidly. The tragedy deepens. Just 4 months before the film's release, Armendáriz took his own life, unable to bear the pain any longer. What makes Armendáriz's story even more heartbreaking is that he was one of Mexico's most celebrated actors, having starred in films by legendary directors like John Ford and Luis Buñuel. His performance as Karen Bay, with its warmth, humor, and paternal wisdom, was delivered while he was literally dying. Every smile, every laugh, every moment of joy he brought to the screen was an act of incredible courage and professionalism. The production team knew they were witnessing something extraordinary. A master actor giving everything he had left to create one final memorable character. His dedication to providing for his family through this role makes every scene he's in both beautiful and tragic to watch. The personal tragedies behind the cameras were matched by professional battles in front of them, as censors threatened to destroy the film's commercial potential. This expanded version adds more context about Armendáriz's prestigious career. the courage required to perform while dying, and the emotional weight of his final performance. Number 14. The British censors almost gave it an X rating. The British Board of Film Classification nearly slapped From Russia with Love with an X rating, which would have restricted it to viewers over 16. The problem? A scene where Bond and Tatiana are filmed through a one-way mirror. Originally, the cameraman appeared sweaty and voyeuristic, which censors felt made the scene too explicit. Only after trimming the footage did filmmakers secure the family-friendly A rating that allowed younger audiences to see the movie. But the battles with authority figures weren't limited to censors. Even the creator of James Bond himself had serious reservations about what was happening to his character. Author Ian Fleming wasn't sold on Connery after Dr. No. The Scottish actor didn't match Fleming's vision of the sophisticated English spy he'd created. It wasn't until Fleming saw From Russia with Love that he completely changed his mind about Connery's portrayal. In fact, Fleming was so impressed that he rewrote Bond's backstory to include Scottish ancestry, a direct tribute to Connery's performance. Fleming's approval came just in time, because the production was dealing with some seriously embarrassing physical challenges that required creative solutions to hide from audiences. Number 12. Robert Shaw had to stand on a box. Robert Shaw, who played the menacing assassin Red Grant, had a height problem. He was 4 inches shorter than the towering Sean Connery, which created continuity issues in their scenes together. The solution? Shaw had to stand on crates and boxes during his confrontations with Bond. Every threatening moment between these two characters involved careful camera work to hide Shaw's artificial height boost. Height wasn't the only thing being artificially constructed on set. The entire screenplay was falling apart faster than the filmmakers could put it back together. Number 11. The script was being rewritten during filming. Screenwriter Richard Maibaum found himself under intense pressure to deliver a follow-up to Dr. No within just 1 year. The stress was so overwhelming that he was constantly rewriting scenes during production. Red Grant's character was being added to key Istanbul sequences, literally as the cast and crew were preparing to travel to Turkey. Imagine trying to memorize lines that didn't exist until you arrived on location. The script chaos was just one sign that this production was struggling with identity issues that went much deeper than dialogue changes. Number 10. Spectre was created to avoid World War III. Ian Fleming's original novel portrayed Russians as the main villains, but given the intense Cold War tensions of 1963, Eon Productions made a radical decision. They completely invented Spectre as a fictional evil organization to replace the Russian threat. The filmmakers were terrified that portraying Russians as villains might escalate real political tensions or get the film banned in certain countries. What audiences saw as creative storytelling was actually diplomatic damage control. While they were busy rewriting global politics, the filmmakers were also dealing with crowd control issues that required some seriously creative solutions. Number 9. A stuntman's upside-down distraction saved a crucial scene. When filming at the railway station in Istanbul, thousands of curious onlookers mobbed the set, most hoping to catch a glimpse of Sean Connery. The crowds made it impossible to capture the shots they needed. Stunt coordinator Peter Perkins came up with an insane solution. He dangled himself upside down from a nearby balcony, pretending to be stuck. His fake emergency worked perfectly, diverting the crowd's attention long enough for Terrence Young to film the crucial Orient Express boarding scene. But the crowd distractions were nothing compared to the shocking revelation about what almost prevented this film from launching one of cinema's most important franchises. Number 8. Alfred Hitchcock wanted to direct the sequel. After Dr. No became a massive hit, it attracted attention from one of cinema's greatest filmmakers, Alfred Hitchcock. The master of suspense reportedly expressed serious interest in directing From Russia with Love. However, Terrence Young decided to return, and Hitchcock never got his chance to direct a Bond film. Can you imagine how different the franchise might have been under Hitchcock's direction? North by Northwest remains the closest thing we have to a Hitchcock Bond movie. What makes this missed opportunity even more fascinating is that Hitchcock was at the absolute peak of his powers in 1963, having just completed The Birds and riding high on the success of Psycho and Vertigo. His interest in Bond wasn't just casual curiosity, he genuinely saw potential in the spy genre that aligned with his mastery of suspense and paranoia. Hitchcock's signature style of psychological tension, innovative camera work, and morally ambiguous characters could have taken the Bond franchise in a completely different direction. Instead of the action-heavy spectacle we know today, we might have gotten a more cerebral, psychologically complex version of 007 that focused on mind games rather than explosions. The missed opportunity with Hitchcock wasn't the only regret the filmmakers would have about casting decisions that haunted them for years. Number 7. Eunice Gayson's Sylvia Trench was supposed to be recurring. Sylvia Trench, introduced in Dr. No, was initially planned to be a recurring character throughout the franchise. The idea was for her to appear at the beginning of each film as Bond's romantic interest, before he was whisked away on missions. However, when Guy Hamilton took over as director for Goldfinger, the concept was scrapped entirely. One casting decision by a new director eliminated what could have been the franchise's first ongoing love interest. The abandonment of Sylvia Trench represents one of the biggest what-if scenarios in Bond history. Gayson's character was designed to provide emotional continuity across films, giving Bond a personal anchor that would have added depth to his relationships and made his dangerous lifestyle more poignant. Imagine how different the entire franchise would have been if Bond had a consistent romantic partner who worried about him between missions, rather than the parade of different women who came and went. The decision to drop her character essentially established the template of disposable Bond girls that would define the franchise for decades, prioritizing novelty over emotional development. Speaking of missed opportunities, one of the film's most memorable sequences almost didn't happen because of bureaucratic restrictions that forced creative workarounds. Number 6. The Orient Express scenes were actually filmed in Scotland. While the Orient Express plays a major role in the film, most of the train footage was actually shot in Scotland, not anywhere near the famous European route. The British Railways Board granted filmmakers permission to shoot exterior sequences in Argyll, with some additional scenes filmed in Switzerland. This was all due to Cold War restrictions that prevented filming behind the Iron Curtain where the real Orient Express operated. The irony of this deception runs deeper than most audiences realize. The actual Orient Express route ran through communist territories that were completely off-limits to Western film crews in 1963. So while Bond and Tatiana are supposedly traveling through Eastern Europe on one of the world's most glamorous trains, they're actually chugging through the Scottish Highlands. The filmmakers had to meticulously recreate the luxury and mystique of the Orient Express using British trains and Scottish landscapes, transforming rugged Highland terrain into exotic European countryside. This geographical sleight of hand was so convincing that decades later, many fans still believe the scenes were shot on the actual Orient Express route. The geographical deceptions were clever, but they pale in comparison to the hidden movie magic that created one of the film's most iconic moments. This expanded version adds more context about the Cold War restrictions, the irony of using Scottish landscapes for European scenes, and how convincing the deception was to audiences. Number 5. The famous billboard escape was a Marilyn Monroe tribute. The trapdoor concealed behind actress Anita Ekberg's mouth on the Call Me Buona poster wasn't random product placement. This moment was directly inspired by Ian Fleming's original novel, where Kronstein escapes through a billboard advertising Niagara from 1953, which starred Marilyn Monroe. Since Monroe had tragically passed away by the time the film was made, production designer Sid Kane suggested replacing her with Ekberg, who was under contract with Eon Productions. A hidden tribute to a Hollywood legend became one of the film's most memorable visual gags. But that wasn't the only hidden tribute embedded in the film. The most shocking revelation involves the mysterious villain who would terrorize Bond for years to come. Number 4. Blofeld's first appearance was a complete mystery. Ernst Stavro Blofeld, the sinister head of Spectre, makes his first franchise appearance in From Russia with Love, but audiences never see his face. The body of Blofeld was portrayed by Anthony Dawson, who had appeared as Professor Dent in Dr. No, while his voice was provided by Austrian actor Erich Pohlmann. In the end credits, Blofeld is credited with nothing but a question mark. The filmmakers were already planning a mystery that would span multiple films. The casting secrets around Blofeld were just the beginning of the hidden connections that linked this film to future Bond adventures in ways audiences never suspected. Number 3. The pre-credits sequence changed Bond forever. From Russia with Love introduced the now iconic pre-credits action sequence that became a staple of every Bond film that followed. In this opening, a masked Red Grant stalks and kills a figure dressed as James Bond, only for it to be revealed as a Spectre training exercise. This single creative decision established a template that would define the franchise for decades. Every explosive pre-credits sequence in Bond history traces back to this moment. The template they created was revolutionary. But what happened behind the scenes during the film's most famous action sequence reveals just how close they came to disaster. Number 2. The Orient Express fight took 3 weeks and nearly killed everyone. The intense fight between Bond and Red Grant on the Orient Express is considered one of the most realistic hand-to-hand combat scenes in the entire Bond franchise. It took 3 grueling weeks to shoot, with Sean Connery and Robert Shaw performing most of their own stunts. Terrence Young's choreography was inspired by his university boxing days, but the realistic violence came at a cost. Both actors sustained injuries during the extended fight sequences, and several takes had to be stopped when things got too dangerous. All of those weeks of brutal fight choreography led to what might be the most shocking revelation of all: the hidden family connections that turned this production into a personal affair. Number 1. The filmmakers' wives had secret cameos. The most closely guarded secret of From Russia with Love involves the filmmaker's own families. Jacqueline Saltzman, wife of producer Harry Saltzman, appears briefly in a train window during the Orient Express sequence. Meanwhile, Dorothea Bennett, wife of director Terrence Young, can be spotted filming Bond and Tatiana in Venice. These weren't just random extras. The wives of the two most powerful men behind the camera were literally watching the action unfold from within the movie itself. What makes these cameos even more remarkable is that they represent the personal investment these filmmakers had in the Bond franchise. This wasn't just a job for them, it was a family business. Saltzman and Young were so committed to the production that they brought their wives along on location shoots, turning what could have been lonely months away from home into shared adventures. The wives didn't just observe the filmmaking process, they became part of it, contributing to the authentic atmosphere that made the film feel so real. These hidden appearances symbolize how the entire Bond franchise was built on personal relationships and family dedication, not just corporate movie making. What started as a simple spy thriller became a family affair wrapped in international intrigue, production disasters, and personal tragedies that make the actual plot seem tame by comparison. From helicopter crashes to terminal illness, from censorship battles to diplomatic concerns about World War III, From Russia with Love proved that sometimes the most dangerous adventures happen behind the camera. The next time you watch Sean Connery charm his way through this classic, remember, you're not just seeing movie magic. You're witnessing the survivors of one of cinema's most perilous productions. If these shocking behind-the-scenes secrets blew your mind, smash that like button and let me know in the comments which facts surprised you the most. Did you know about Pedro Armendáriz's tragic story, or were you shocked by how many near-death experiences happened during filming? Subscribe for more incredible movie secrets that will change how you watch your favorite films forever, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the dark truths hiding behind Hollywood's biggest blockbusters. Trust me, once you start discovering these hidden stories, you'll never watch movies the same way again.